5 hours. That's how much time I spend on my AI setup every week. And I don't mean 5 hours of planning or 5 hours of thinking about content. I mean 5 hours of actual work that produces 14 short form videos, 7 tweets, a weekly newsletter, competitor research, engagement across all 3 platforms, and a full content pipeline that runs without me touching it. Now, I'm not some sort of genius. I'm not even full time on this. I work a regular job during the day and I build this on the side. And the reason I can pull it off is not because I work harder. It's because I built systems that do the heavy lifting. In this video, I'm going to show you every single system, what I actually spend those 5 hours on, and more importantly, what I stopped doing because I was wasting my time. If you're trying to build something on the side and feel like there aren't enough hours, stick around. This might just change how you think about it. All right, so let me show you what a typical week actually looks like. This is a little out of order, but let's just start with Thursday. So by Thursday, my OpenClaw Eries generates me a newsletter draft for review, and I approve later. And then on Saturday at 8 a.m., Eries generates my scripts. So I batch a week in advance. So by the time the week starts on a Monday for me, I have my scripts ready to record. And I just got to review them and potentially flag anything during the weekend. I know they're good, no more guessing, and I just get to work. Then here is I repurpose them with my NA10 workflow, and this is all triggered via my content hub on Notion. And then research and competitor analysis. Again, so checking out my YouTube competitors, see what they're doing, what I'm not. Again, Eries is all doing that in the background, dropping it into the main database. Let me actually show you with what the repurposing workflow looks like. So once Eries drops my scripts in Notion in my content hub like this, they're going to be flagged as not started. And right now I have it flagged as short. And so here's my content hub in Notion. And once Eries drops my scripts, she drops them in here, flags them as not started. I just have to open them, check the source, make sure they work, they make sense, review the script. If I don't agree with it, I'll just challenge back. Most of the time it's getting to the point where most of the scripts are on brand. Eries knows my call to actions. The hooks have to be strong. So it's a lot of stuff that took some time to get there, but now it's to the point where it's getting more streamlined, and I think NA10 is still powerful and I still use it, but this is where NA10 kicks in. So once my scripts are generated, I usually like to repurpose them on TikTok. I usually optimize for YouTube. That's my main platform. All I do is flicker that on. So Eries just does that for me. And all I got to do is change the status to context ready. What's going to happen is the workflow is going to kick in and it's going to take all of this and it's going to get to work. And it's going to look at the platforms and it's basically going to repurpose everything. And so in this case, it's just going to repurpose for TikTok. So it's going to generate the TikTok caption. That's it. Basically, once I drop the URL here, the same video is going to get repurposed. So what ends up happening ultimately is I just post on both platforms with no extra effort. It almost feels like it's easy. I would spend a lot of time, sometimes 1 to 2 hours, just figuring it out, going back and forth. And NA10 is great. And now it finally feels like I spend less time here and just more time strategizing for the first time. So what ends up happening is by Saturday, if you recall on my Escala draw, right, when Eries records actually generates my scripts and drops them into my content hub, she drops 14. These are 14 scripts on different topics. And what we do is we have a flywheel. So every single day I have Eries looking at X because that's where I get a lot of my news. And so Eries helps me capture that. She goes in there, drops all the news in many places. One of them being here in this dashboard that we created. And we call this Intel. All the news that we capture on X and Perplexity, Eries drops them in here. And they're clickable links. So I can open it and read more if I wanted to. I get a summary. And that's pretty much it. And so Eries understands that, and by Saturday ends up choosing the best topics that we covered throughout the week. But that's something that I don't have to manage. Eries just does it for me, and that's how I ended up with 14 scripts. At the end of the day, I just wake up on Saturday at 8 a.m. and I look in here and there's 14 scripts ready, and I did nothing. All I gotta do is review, and most of them are good most of the time. Now, obviously, there's a little more work to it, but it's not as much as you think. And now I just sit here and I just audit, like, do these 14 make sense? Is this the right ratio? Do the call to actions match? If yes, then I'm good to go. And do they sound in my voice? Most of the time they do. So here's where it gets interesting. This is just one piece of my content, but even 14 shorts is something that I couldn't handle 2-3 months ago. I could barely handle one short daily, and even then I wasn't consistent. But now for the first time, I can double my output and I'm not spending a lot of energy. It takes me 30 minutes to record 14 shorts. It takes me maybe 15 minutes to review them. At some point during the week, she also generates my long form scripts. form, if I just toggle this to long and just filter that out, you see this is my long form videos. This is the one we're covering right now. So if I open this, you'll see this is my headlines, hook options. This is kind of the format that works for me in the setup checklist to get this ready, because it takes more effort to do a long form video. And then the flow. This is a process how I like to record for long form. This is something that literally Aries handles for me. All I got to do is review as well. So this is something that will take me 1 to 2 hours again, just to make sure the long form matches. In the past, I would use Claude Code and it worked, but it wouldn't be consistent. Sometimes I'll go back, I'll edit some things. It was more manual. Now it's fully automated. I just wake up and everything is just added there throughout the week. And this is just videos. What about the newsletter? Aries also drafts that as well and drops it, not in Notion, actually drops it in my drafts on MailerLite. Aries just has access and just logs in. She can check analytics. And more importantly, she can draft my newsletter and just send it to me. And that's what happens. My newsletter is drafted and then it's scheduled, and I get a notification that it's ready for review. I just review it, and if it looks good, there's nothing else that needs to be done. The newsletter is already scheduled, which is cool. And if I do need to make edits, we can unschedule it, make those edits, and keep going back and forth until it's good, and then it just gets scheduled. So here's this illustration that to showcase what I kind of did before. This is maybe a little bit an exaggeration, but I wrote a lot of scripts, and I had AI generate some. So it will be all over the place. And then at the end of the day, I would have to compile 7 to 14 scripts. That would take me a few hours. I would also have to do manual research. I would have to cross-check the scripts if the information was accurate, make sure I knew what I was talking about, and then scheduling. But this was actually not the most painful part. These two were. But the problem was I wasn't choosing the best topics. So now I get handpicked newsletter topics, and I choose what to talk about. So Aries, at some point during the week, before she even generates the newsletter, she drops 3 topics. I choose the best one. And those 3 topics are backed by demand, meaning that either it was covered in the news, it was covered on X and it had a lot of interest and engagement, or it was on a past topic that just resonated and we know just works. So now I'm getting more validated topics versus before I was just kind of guessing. And all this happens automatically. So I think I'm just now spending more time reviewing. This takes me maybe 5 to 10 minutes to review the newsletter. This takes me about 15 minutes to review the scripts, maybe another 10 minutes for long form. So in less than 30 minutes, I review 14 shorts and 2 long form videos. I still schedule by hand. For me, it's just more efficient to do it that way because I want to QA it. Sometimes the same video gets posted twice. So I just want to run it manually via NA10 and then see the output and Blotato to make sure that my posts aren't duplicates. But here's the part that people get wrong. They think you have to automate everything. So what do I actually do? So this is on average my 5-hour breakdown. It takes me 30 minutes to record shorts, and that's 14 shorts. It takes me 16 minutes, basically an hour, to record 2 long form videos. And then throughout the week, I'm engaging daily on X and midday. So about 25 minutes. I'm also reviewing my newsletter, which takes about 5 minutes. And on Friday, I review those deliverables and drop in analytics. So the only thing I have to drop is X analytics. Aries has access to my YouTube analytics, so that's not something I even have to do myself anymore. So on average, it takes 5 to 6 hours, and a bulk of that is just me creating the content. It was actually what I stopped doing, which is just as important. This is probably the most useful part of this video, what I'm about to cover. I started with this theory that I can post on all 5 platforms, and technically I can, and I will not burn out. It doesn't take me extra effort to post on Instagram. The problem was that I was just everywhere at once. I didn't have enough time to digest how each platform works. That just means I burn more time and managing more tasks. So I decided to just put that on the side in the meantime while I master these 2 platforms that I care about. And TikTok, I do care about it as well. I think all platforms matter, but for me personally, going all in, YouTube and X has been the biggest breakthrough for me because now I'm starting to see I'm spending more time on thumbnails, analyzing headlines, how I record. The best way to describe it is that I'm spending more time reviewing versus creating some of the stuff. I don't have to do a lot of research for topics. So that's from X and Perplexity. Not any additional work that I have to do. So the biggest breakthrough I've had is focusing. And even though automation enables you to post on everywhere, doesn't mean that you should. Less is actually more, and I'm starting to experience that firsthand. And if you're thinking of building something like this, I'd recommend starting small, like learning a little bit about NA10, building simple workflows, nothing complex, or using something like OpenClaw. It is a little bit more advanced, but I promise you that once you get past that learning curve, it's worth it. You have an AI agent that's like ChatGPT on steroids. Is an agent that remembers a lot of context, that you don't have to keep repeating yourself, that gets better over time. It does take time to set up, but if you're willing to push through that, those are the two technologies that I will leave you away with, OpenClaw and NA10. I put together a doc with 15 leaked AI system prompts from tools like ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. These are the actual hidden instructions these tools run on, and you can use them to make your prompts way better. Free. Links in the description if you're interested.